All right, get ready to party, because today's deep dive is taking us straight into the wild world of Super Mario Party Jamboree. We've got a stack of reviews here, and it sounds like this might be the biggest entry yet, but is it actually any good?
That's the million coin question, isn't it? We've got opinions ranging from best Mario Party ever to overstuffed and underwhelming. So let's unpack what's got everyone buzzing.
Okay, let's unpack this. First off, this Jamboree is boasting the largest character roster and most mini-games in series history.
Wow.
22 playable characters and over 110 mini-games.
Yeah,
Are we talking quantity over quality here, or did they actually deliver?
that's the big question, right?
Yeah.
While a bigger roster is always fun, what's impressed me most from the reviews is the 5 new boards. They all seem like genuinely creative additions, each with unique mechanics that really shake up the gameplay.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Those new boards sound like a breath of fresh air. Tell me more about these unique mechanics. What kind of chaos can we expect?
We'll take Roll'em Raceway, for example. You're in carts, but unlike that other cart-based Mario Party game, this one actually seems well integrated into the whole formula. Reviewers are praising its clever mechanics and how it captures that classic Mario Party chaos.
Okay, that's good to hear. The cart-based board game. Not my favorite Mario Party memory,
Yeah.
but Rainbow Galleria, a 3-story mall with flash sales impacting item and star prices. That sounds like a recipe for some serious friendship-ending moments, which, let's face it, is part of what we love about Mario Party.
Right. Imagine a star going on sale and suddenly everyone's scrambling to get there first, pushing each other out of the way, hoarding golden pipes, utter mayhem. Though this seems like a board that really benefits from a longer game session.
Oh, definitely. Can you imagine the tension building over those longer games? Then there's Pro Rules, which sounds like a pretty significant addition, especially for longtime fans. What's the deal with those?
This is huge E for those who've been frustrated by the luck-based nature of Mario Party. Pro Rules essentially ditches the randomness in favor of a more strategic competitive experience. It sounds like a game changer for those who want more control over their fate.
So bigger roster, more mini-games, new boards, and now this more strategic mode. It sounds like they're really trying to cater to every type of Mario Party player out there, but with 110 mini-games crammed in there, are they actually any good? Because, let's be real, a bad minigame can really kill the mood even in the most chaotic Mario Party session.
That's the thing, the reviews are a bit all over the place on this one. Some reviewers are calling the minigames some of the best in the series, while others found them just fine. However, it seems a lot of those minigames are tied to specific modes, which could explain the discrepancy.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Especially with these new showdown minigames, these sound way more involved than your average button-mashing frenzy. What's the deal with those?
Think of them almost like boss battles. You're competing against your friends to recruit these Jamboree buddies, unique characters who come with special abilities that can impact your game. And they seem to be going all out with the themes here. One that caught my eye: Donkey Kong's Rhythm Challenge. Knowing your love for rhythm games, I have a feeling this one's going to be right up your alley.
Oh, you know it. Donkey Kong rhythm games sign me up. But with 110 mini games, there have got to be some other standouts. Spill the tea. What other wacky challenges are reviewers raving about?
One called Prime Cut has you slicing steaks perfectly in half. I'm both intrigued and slightly terrified. Another that sounds both delicious and dangerous is Sandwiched. Apparently you're dodging endless falling sandwiches.
Okay, I'm just picturing a giant sandwich avalanche, and I am here for it. It sounds like they've got a good mix of the strategic and the downright silly, which honestly is the perfect recipe for a Mario Party minigame. But hold on a second, we keep talking about playing with friends. But what about those of us who prefer to party solo? Is Jamboree gonna leave us stranded in the Mushroom Kingdom with nothing but a stack of unused controllers?
It seems like they're really making an effort to cater to solo players with this one, which is a big deal for Mario Party.
Yeah.
They've included a dedicated single-player campaign called Party Planner Trek, where you're running around the boards completing missions for those Mushroom Kingdom residents.
Okay. I like that they're trying to give solo players more options, but is running errands for Toads really as exciting as stealing stars from your friends?
That's a fair point. The reviews are pretty quiet on whether the single-player campaign is engaging enough to hold your attention for very long. Now, there's also this online mode Coupathlon where you compete with up to 19 other players. But even that sounds a little repetitive based on what we're reading, almost like they designed it for a quick online match and called it a day.
Okay, so Maybe not a solo player's paradise just yet. But what about online multiplayer in general? They did mention something about a giant Bowser in one of the online modes, right? Because who doesn't want to take down a giant Bowser with their friends online?
Ah, yes. Bowser's Kaboom Squad. It sounds utterly bonkers. 8 players team up online to take down a giant imposter Bowser. And they make a point of it being an imposter, which is a curious detail.
Ooh, maybe it's a clone. Or a
Ah.
robot Bowser. I love those little story hints. But is it actually any fun to play? 8 players online, that sounds like a recipe for lag and chaos, even on a good day.
Right. Fun in theory, but coordinating 8 players online for any game can be tricky. The reviewers seemed a bit skeptical about how smoothly it would actually play out, especially with that many players.
Okay, so maybe the jury's still out on whether Jamboree is the ultimate online party experience, especially for 8 players. But what about the overall package? For those of us who can wrangle our friends into the same room, how does it stack up? Is it worth adding to the game night rotation?
Look, it's Mario Party. Your mileage will always vary depending on who you're playing with. But this does seem like the biggest, most feature-rich entry yet, which also
It
means
could be a bit overwhelming.
exactly, it sounds like there's a lot going on and not everything is going to appeal to every player. That's always the risk with a game this jam-packed.
That said, if you're looking for that classic Mario Party chaos with friends, but with a fresh coat of paint and some genuinely clever new boards, this seems like a winner, right?
Absolutely. But be prepared for some lengthy game sessions. It seems like they're leaning into longer, more involved games this time around, especially with the new boards and those pro rules for the more strategic players.
And speaking of those pro rules, it's pretty telling that even reviewers who usually prefer a more chaotic experience are praising them. That says something about how much they can shake up the gameplay.
Agreed. It's a testament to how well designed they are. They managed to add depth without completely changing the core Mario Party experience. But there's one more elephant in the room we need to address. Motion controls. Some of us still have flashbacks to certain other Mario Party games that relied a little too heavily on waggling our way to victory.
Oh, you mean the ones where you ended up accidentally yeeting your controller across the room because you got a little too into a minigame? Hypothetically, of course.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, are the motion controls in Jamboree going to have us reaching for our wrist straps again? Or are they keeping things a little more, shall we say, controlled?
Okay, good question. Because while I'm all for a little motion-controlled mayhem, I don't want to end up with a repetitive stress injury from playing Mario Party. What did the reviewers have to say about those motion controls?
From what I've gathered, they're definitely not the main focus this time around. You can even turn off motion-controlled mini-games in most modes so they're not unavoidable, like in some previous entries.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
So what are they actually used for? Are we talking about full-blown motion-controlled mayhem or just a few waggles here and there?
Well, they do have 3 dedicated motion control modes: Rhythm Kitchen, Toad's Item Factory, and Paratroopa Flight School.
Rhythm Kitchen already has me intrigued. Cooking with Mario and friends. I'm already picturing a chaotic cake baking competition. What about those other two?
Toad's Item Factory seems to involve tilting and rotating your Joy-Cons to guide a ball through a maze. It sounds like a digital labyrinth with a dash of Mario-themed chaos thrown in for good measure.
Okay, I'm picturing those old wooden labyrinth games, but with power-ups and maybe a mischievous boo thrown in for good measure. But what about Paratroopa Flight School? Is that the one where we're all flapping our arms like birds again?
That's the one the reviewers seemed least enthusiastic about. It sounds like it could be fun for a few minutes, but then your arms start to ache and you're reminded why button controls were invented.
Yeah, I'm not sure I need a workout with my party games. All right, so maybe not the most groundbreaking use of motion controls, but it sounds like they're at least well integrated and offer a bit of variety.
Exactly. They're there if you want them, but they're not going to make or break the overall experience.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the new boards, the mini games, those intriguing Jamboree buddies, and even those slightly terrifying motion controls. But let's zoom out for a second. Where does Mario Party even fit into the gaming landscape in 2024? Because let's be real, it's not exactly the most popular genre out there these days.
That's a really interesting question. The party game genre has always been a bit niche, hasn't it? It's
Yeah.
never going to be as mainstream as something like online shooters or open-world RPGs.
But there's something timeless about gathering with friends and family for some good old-fashioned fun, right? And Mario Party captures that magic perfectly.
Absolutely. It's that perfect blend of accessibility, chaos. and just the right amount of strategy that appeals to a wide range of ages and gaming backgrounds. There's something about that shared experience of yelling at the TV over a stolen star or a perfectly timed boo that you just don't get from other games.
It's a digital icebreaker. You could throw a bunch of people who've never even met before into a Mario Party game, and within minutes they're laughing, yelling, and bonding over those gloriously chaotic moments.
Exactly. And I think that's why Mario Party has endured for so long. It taps into that primal human desire to play, to compete, and to just have fun with the people around us.
It's like a digital board game night, but with a whole lot more personality. And speaking of personality, let's talk about those iconic Mario Party characters. Because let's be real, half the fun is choosing your favorite and watching them wreak havoc on the board.
Oh, absolutely. Each character brings something unique to the table, whether it's Mario's dependable heroism, Peach's cheerful determination, or, dare I say, Waluigi's mischievous antics.
Don't even get me started on Waluigi. We all know he's secretly nerfed in every game because if they unleashed his full potential, he'd be unstoppable.
They'd have to rename it Waluigi Party.
Ugh.
But seriously, with 22 playable characters in Jamboree, I'm curious about how they decide who makes the cut. It's got to be a tough decision. Do they have some secret Mario Party character selection committee?
I'm picturing a room full of Nintendo executives huddled around a table arguing over the merits of Toad versus Toadette.
Right. Or maybe they just draw names out of a hat. Whatever the process is, they've got to consider things like fan favorites, introducing new faces, and even gameplay balance.
Speaking of balance, did they mention anything about unlockables? Because we all know those are a major motivator for a lot of Mario Party players. What kind of goodies can we expect to earn this time around?
From what I've seen, they've gone all out. Think stickers, music tracks, new victory animations,
Mm,
the usual cosmetic goodies that make you feel like you're customizing your Mario Party experience.
Okay, so nothing game-changing, but I'm always down for some cosmetic customization. Is there anything about these unlockables that stood out in the reviews?
Well, they mentioned something called a battle pass, which I have to admit initially made me a little nervous.
Hold on, a battle pass in my Mario Party. I thought we agreed microtransactions had no place in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Don't worry, it's not a paid battle pass. Think of it more like a progression system, where you unlock new cosmetic rewards as you level up by playing the game. It's a clever way to encourage players to keep coming back for more without locking essential content behind a paywall.
Okay, that's a relief. I was about to say Nintendo wouldn't betray us like that, would they? But speaking of coming back for more, let's talk about those boards for a minute. A great board can make or break a Mario Party game. What makes a truly memorable Mario Party board in your book?
For me, it's all about interactivity. I want a board that's not just a static path, but a dynamic environment that changes and evolves as the game progresses. Think branching paths, hidden shortcuts, maybe even some environmental hazards to keep players on their toes.
Oh, absolutely. Like those classic boards with the Bowser spaces that move around or those pesky chain chomps that chase you down. And don't even get me started on those boost stealing shenanigans.
Exactly. A great Mario Party board should keep you guessing. It should be unpredictable and a little bit unfair at times because that's all part of the fun.
And of course it needs a killer theme. Something that transports you right into the heart of the Mushroom Kingdom, whether it's a spooky haunted mansion, a tropical island paradise, or even a chaotic shopping mall.
Speaking of chaotic shopping malls, we have to circle back to Rainbow Galleria for a second. That board sounds like it has the potential to be a new fan favorite, and it sounds like the epitome of what we're talking about.
Totally agree. And it sounds like they really went all out with the details with those flash sales and everyone fighting over the best deals. It's the perfect blend of classic Mario Party chaos and some genuinely clever new ideas.
And it plays into that strategic element they seem to be emphasizing with Jamboree. You can't just rely on luck anymore. You have to plan your moves, manage your items, and maybe even do a little light sabotage to come out on top.
Which brings us to those mini games. Because as much as we love a good board, those bite-sized bursts of competitive chaos are what truly make Mario Party.
Absolutely. A good set of minigames is crucial. But with so many to choose from, 110 at last count, there are bound to be some duds.
Oh, for sure. But what about the standouts? Which ones are getting rave reviews?
Well, aside from the ones we already mentioned, Slappy Go Round is getting a lot of buzz. Imagine a giant spinning platform covered in pies.
Oh no, I can already see where this is going.
Yep, you guessed it. The goal is to slap as many pies as possible onto your opponents while avoiding getting pied yourself.
Classic Mario Party mayhem. It sounds messy, hilarious, and potentially friendship ending. What else? Give me another one that screams Jamboree.
How about unfriendly flying object?
Yeah.
It's a free-for-all where you're dodging UFOs and trying to collect coins. Sounds simple, but knowing Mario Party is probably way harder than it
Oh,
looks.
I bet. It's those deceptively simple mini games that often turn into the most chaotic. But remember those showdown mini games we talked about earlier? Those longer, more involved challenges? What can you tell me about those?
Well, each Jamboree buddy has their own unique showdown minigame. So, for example, Yoshi's showdown minigame is a platforming race, while Daisy's is all about collecting coins.
Ooh, that's a fun touch. It's like each character is bringing their own mini game to the party. And you mentioned a Wario game show earlier. Tell me that's as delightfully devious as it sounds.
It certainly seems that way. It sounds like a wacky quiz show, with trivia questions, reaction-based challenges, and maybe even a few pies to the face for good measure. Knowing Wario, there are bound to be some underhanded tactics involved.
Oh, for sure. It wouldn't be a Wario game without a little bit of trickery.
Exactly, and I think that element of surprise is part of what makes those showdown minigames so engaging. You never quite know what to expect.
Speaking of surprises, I'm curious about those online modes. We know they exist. They've mentioned a 20-player Battle Royale mode, which sounds wild, but the reviews are surprisingly quiet on how well they actually work.
It's a bit of a mystery box, isn't it? And honestly, online functionality is crucial for a party game these days, especially if you can't always gather your friends in the same room.
Exactly. They can have the most amazing online features in the world, but if the execution is clunky, it's going to fall flat. I'm hoping they've nailed it because the potential for online Mario Party is huge.
I agree. And let's not forget about Bowser's Kaboom Squad, that 8-player online mode where you team up to take down a giant imposter Bowser. Again, it sounds epic, but the details are a little vague.
Well, I guess we'll just have to round up 7 of our closest friends and try it out for ourselves.
Hmm.
But before we get too caught up in multiplayer mayhem, let's circle back to those single-player modes. As much as I love a good party, sometimes you just want to kick back and enjoy a game on your own. So what can solo players expect from Super Mario Party Jamboree?
Well, they're definitely getting more than in previous entries, which is a step in the right direction. We've talked about the Party Planner Trek campaign mode where you're running around the boards, completing missions, and earning stars. It's a start, but whether it's engaging enough to hold a solo player's attention for long remains to be seen.
Right. It's one thing to offer a single-player mode, but it's another thing entirely to make it compelling enough to rival the chaotic fun of playing with friends. What about those motion control heavy modes? Are those strictly solo experiences, or can you drag a friend along for the ride?
Good question. It seems to vary. Toad's Item Factory is strictly a solo affair, but you can actually play Rhythm Kitchen with up to 4 players locally. So it's not a total loss for those who prefer a bit of company, even in their motion-controlled cooking escapades.
Okay, that's good to know. It's always more fun to share the chaos, even if it's just with one other person.
Absolutely. Misery loves company, especially when it comes to those more physical Mario Party minigames.
Speaking of which, before we render our final verdict, there's one burning question that's been on my mind this entire time. It's about those motion controls and those potential wrist injuries.
Oh, here we go. You're not going to let that go, are you?
Never. But seriously, with all the talk about shaking things up and intense gameplay, I need some reassurance that I'm not going to end up with carpal tunnel from playing Super Mario Party Jamboree.
All right, I hear you. Based on the reviews, it seems like those more physically demanding minigames are mostly confined to those dedicated motion control modes. And even then, you can always switch to button controls if you're worried about your wrists. Okay, that's good to know. I'm all for immersive gameplay, but not if it comes at the expense of my health.
Agreed. But let's be honest, a little bit of risk is part of what makes Mario Party so exciting.
That's true. All right, so we've got a mountain of minigames, some intriguing new boards, a whole lot of options for how you want to party, and potentially some very sore wrists. But the real question is Super Mario Party Jamboree actually any good? Is it the party game to end all party games, or is it just another case of too much of a good thing?
Those are the million coin questions, aren't they? Well, based on everything we've discussed, it seems like Jamboree is shaping up to be a worthy addition to the Mario Party legacy, even if it's not without its flaws.
Agreed. It's a mixed bag, but the good definitely seems to outweigh the bad.
Mm-hmm.
But before we deliver our final verdict, let's take a quick break and come back with our final thoughts on Super Mario Party Jamboree. All right, so we're back and ready to render our final verdict on Super Mario Party Jamboree. Is this the party game to end all party games, or will it leave us feeling like we got hit with a blue shell right before the finish line? Well, I wouldn't say it's the end-all be-all of party games. Those are some pretty big dice to roll, but it's definitely a strong contender.
Okay, so no perfect scores, but it sounds like it's still worth adding to our gaming libraries.
Absolutely. Especially if you're a fan of those classic Mario Party elements, like the chaotic boards, the strategic item play, and of course those what just happened, mini games.
And those new boards really do sound like a game changer.
Oh, they're fantastic. Rainbow Galleria is pure mayhem in the best way possible. And Roll 'em Raceway actually seems fun, which is a big win for a cart-based Mario Party game.
I'm still a little traumatized by some of those previous cart-based entries, so I appreciate you acknowledging that.
Oh, trust me, I've been there. But this time it seems like they found a good balance between the racing elements and the classic Mario Party chaos.
Music to my ears. So we've got great new boards, a mountain of mini games, some intriguing new characters like those Jamboree buddies, and even some surprisingly robust single-player and online options.
Don't forget about those pro rules. That's a huge addition for those who want a more strategic, less luck-based experience.
Oh yeah, those pro rules are a game changer for sure. It's like they finally listened to all those players who were tired of getting sabotaged by a stray boo right before the finish line.
Exactly. They've added a new layer of depth to the gameplay without alienating those who love the classic chaotic fun of Mario Party.
It's a delicate balance, and it sounds like they've managed to pull it off. But enough about our opinions. What do you think? Have you had a chance to jump into the Mushroom Kingdom with Super Mario Party Jamboree? Head over to our website or social media pages and let us know, because we want to hear all about your chaotic experiences, those epic wins and those soul-crushing defeats.
And hey, if you've discovered any game-breaking strategies or hilarious minigame mishaps, be sure to share those too. We're always up for a good Mario Party story.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Creating those memorable moments with friends and family, even if those moments involve a little bit of yelling and maybe some strategic use of a banana peel or two.
That's the magic of Mario Party. It's a game that brings people together even when it's tearing them apart.
Ain't that the truth? Well, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Super Mario Party Jamboree. We hope you've enjoyed this chaotic journey into the heart of the Mushroom Kingdom.
Until next time, happy gaming.
And remember, life's too short to take those blue shells personally.
Unless they're from Waluigi, then all bets are off.